For over 1,000 years, we have been told a sanitized version of our own history. We've been given the edited highlights, the approved canon, the safe version of reality. But what if the most critical chapters of human history were ripped out? What if the prophecies of a man who walked the earth before the Great Flood hold the master key to unlocking not just our ancient past, but our terrifying future? Tonight, we are not just reading an old book. We are breaking the seal on forbidden knowledge. We are pulling back the curtain on the lost truths of Enoch. We are going to expose the secret history of fallen angels, the genetic abominations that forced God to drown the world, and the final judgment that is still ticking down, second by second, toward us right now. This is the story the establishment tried to bury. This is the story you were never meant to hear. Deep in the footnotes of biblical history, there is a ghost. He is a figure of immense power and mystery, yet he is barely a whisper in the standard texts. In the book of Genesis, he gets a mere mention: Enoch, the seventh patriarch from Adam. The scripture gives us one haunting, cryptic sentence: he walked with God, and he was no more, for God took him. Think about the weight of those words. He was no more. Everyone else in the genealogy died. They lived, they aged, they were buried. But Enoch, he was abducted. He was removed from the equation of death entirely. Alongside the prophet Elijah, he is the only human being in the Hebrew Bible to bypass the grave and step directly into the spiritual realm alive. But that single verse is just the tip of a massive submerged iceberg. For centuries, a text claiming to be the first-hand account of this man circulated through the ancient world like wildfire. It wasn't just a biography. It was a whistleblower's report from the heavens. It contained visions of cosmic machinery, tours of the underworld, and shocking, detailed prophecies. It answered the questions that keep us awake at night. Where does evil actually come from? Is it human nature? Or is it an infection from something else? What happens the moment we die? And how does the world end? This is the Book of Enoch, and its history is as dramatic as its content. It was quoted by the early church fathers. It was referenced by the writers of the New Testament. The Book of Jude quotes it directly, treating it as a factual historical record. But then, the doors slammed shut. The religious authorities pushed it to the fringes. They labeled it dangerous. They left it out of the official Bible. For 1,000 years, the Western world thought it was lost to the sands of time. But truth is hard to kill. In the highlands of Ethiopia, protected by the Orthodox Tewahedo Church, the book survived. It was preserved, copied, and venerated, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. When explorers finally brought it back to Europe in the 18th century, it didn't just add to the conversation, it detonated a theological bomb. It revealed a backstory to the Old Testament that complicates everything we thought we knew. To understand Enoch's prophecies, you have to understand the world he lived in. We tend to think of the days before Noah's flood as just bad. But Enoch describes a world that was scientifically and genetically compromised. Genesis 6 gives us a glimpse, speaking of sons of God taking human wives. But Enoch gives us the crime scene photos. According to the Book of the Watchers, the first section of Enoch's text, the evil on earth wasn't a human invention. It was an invasion. A group of 200 high-ranking celestial beings, angels known as the Watchers, looked down from their heavenly stations and were consumed by a forbidden lust. Led by an entity named Semi-Azaz, they descended to the summit of Mount Hermon. They didn't just fall. They swore a blood oath to commit treason against the Creator. They took human women. But this wasn't just a marriage. It was a biological violation of the cosmic order. The offspring of this union were not human. They were the Nephilim. Enoch describes them as giants, biological horrors with bottomless appetites. Imagine a species that consumes the entire agricultural output of humanity in weeks. And when the grain was gone, they turned on the farmers. Enoch describes a scene of absolute nightmare fuel. Giants devouring human flesh, drinking blood, and turning the earth into a slaughterhouse. But the physical destruction was only half the problem. The Watchers brought with them forbidden technology, The angel Azazel taught men the art of metallurgy for one specific purpose: warfare. He taught them to forge swords, shields, and breastplates. He took a peaceful society and weaponized. Other angels taught the secrets of cosmetics and seduction, astrology, and sorcery. They gave humanity the tools to destroy itself, accelerating our corruption at a geometric rate. The world was spinning into a dark spiral of depravity, blood magic, and violence. In the middle of this hellscape stood Enoch, a man of radical purity in a world of absolute filth. The archangels, Michael, Uriel, Raphael, Gabriel, looked down at the blood-soaked earth and heard the screams of the dying. They petitioned God to act, and God did act, but he used Enoch as his mouthpiece. Enoch was given a terrifying mission. He was sent to the fallen Watchers, these immortal, powerful beings, to deliver their death sentence. Imagine the scene. A mortal man standing before fallen angels, telling them that their petitions for mercy have been denied. They were to be bound under the hills of the earth. Their children, the Nephilim, were to be slaughtered, and the world they corrupted was to be washed clean. This leads us to Enoch's first great prophecy. And it wasn't written on a scroll, it was hidden in the name of a child. When Enoch had a son, he named him Methuselah. In Hebrew, the name carries a chilling, prophetic double meaning. When he is dead, it shall be sent. Think about the burden of that name. Enoch looked at his newborn son and saw the countdown clock for the apocalypse. Every birthday Methuselah celebrated was another year of God's patience. Every time the boy got sick, Enoch must have terrified that the end was near. Methuselah lived for 969 years, the longest lifespan recorded in human history. That number isn't a trivia fact. It is a testament to the staggering mercy of God. For nearly a millennium, the judgment clock kept ticking, waiting for humanity to repent. But the moment Methuselah closed his eyes for the last time, the clock hit 0. The floodwaters burst forth. In Enoch's vision, the flood wasn't just rain. It was a sterilization event. It was chemotherapy for a planet infected by the cancer of the Watchers. The water didn't just kill the wicked. It scrubbed the genetic code of the Nephilim from the face of the earth, resetting the board for Noah and the future of mankind. But Enoch didn't stay on earth. His story takes a sharp turn into the supernatural. The text describes him being physically lifted from the ground, transported by angels into the machinery of the cosmos. This wasn't a dream. It was a tour of the engine room of reality. He traveled through the layers of heaven. He saw the storehouses of the winds, the hail, and the lightning. He saw the order behind the chaos of weather. But as he ascended, the sights became more terrifying. In the second heaven, he found a prison, a place of absolute, crushing darkness where rebel angels awaited judgment, suspended in a void of weeping. Then, the third heaven. Here, Enoch saw the duality of the afterlife. On one side, paradise, the Garden of Eden, fragrant with the tree of life, prepared for the righteous. On the other side, in the very same heaven, a place of torment, fire and ice, a hollow prepared for those who cursed God. Enoch saw that heaven and hell are not distant abstractions. They are real places, built and waiting, their architecture already finished. He continued upward, past the astronomical clockwork of the sun and moon in the fourth heaven, past the silent morning Grigori in the fifth heaven, until he reached the seventh heaven, the throne room. He describes a structure built of crystal and fire, surrounded by rivers of flame. He saw the seraphim, the cherubim, the burning wheels of the Ophanim, and there, in the blinding light, he saw the Lord of Spirits. Enoch was transformed from a man into a celestial scribe, commanded to record the secrets of the universe for a generation far in the future. One of the most cryptic and fascinating sections of his book is the Apocalypse of Weeks. This is a condensed history of the world, broken down into 10 eras, or weeks. It reads like a prophetic roadmap of human destiny. He predicts the flood in the second week. He predicts the rise of Abraham in the third. He sees the law given to Moses in the fourth, and the building of Solomon's temple in the fifth. But then, in the sixth week, the prophecy gets incredibly specific. He speaks of a time when a man shall ascend. This is widely interpreted as the ascension of Jesus. Immediately following this, he predicts the house of dominion will be burned with fire and the chosen people scattered. History tells us this happened exactly as written. In 70 AD, the Roman legions burned Jerusalem to the ground, and the Jewish diaspora began. But the prophecy doesn't stop at history. It pushes into our future. The 8th week brings a sword of righteous judgment. The 9th week sees the revelation of truth to the entire world, where the works of the godless vanish. And the 10th week? That is the end of time itself. The old heavens vanish. A new sevenfold heaven appears. It is the final reset. And this brings us to the core of Enoch's message. The final judgment. Enoch is not a prophet of doom. He is a prophet of justice. He sees a day when the books are opened. He describes a figure, the Son of Man, the elect one, who existed before the stars were made. This figure sits on a throne of glory, and all the kings, the dictators, the billionaires, and the tyrants of history are dragged before him. Enoch describes their terror. These men who thought they were gods on earth will realize they are nothing. They will beg for mercy. But the text says their time for mercy has run out. The Son of Man will judge the secret things. He will vindicate the righteous who suffered in silence. This is the smoking gun for Christian theology. Centuries before the Gospels were written, Enoch was describing a Messiah figure who looks, acts, and judges exactly like Jesus Christ. It's no wonder the New Testament writers valued this book. It provided the blueprint for the apocalypse. Enoch prophesies a bodily resurrection, that the earth will literally vomit up the dead, and Sheol will return the souls it has kept. Death is not the end. It is merely a holding cell. And for the righteous, the end is not a void. It is a restoration. The final vision of Enoch is one of breathtaking hope. After the fire, after the judgment, after the darkness, comes the light. He sees a new heaven and a new earth, a place where sorrow is obsolete, where the righteous shine like the stars of heaven. It is a return to Eden, but better. It is the promise that the corruption of the Watchers, the violence of the Nephilim, and the sins of humanity will not have the final word. These are the lost truths. The establishment may have tried to bury them, but the message of Enoch has survived the flood, the fire, and the censors. It reminds us that we are part of a much larger, much older, and much more dangerous story than we realize. It tells us that what we do matters, that someone is watching, and that in the end, justice isn't just a possibility, it is an inevitability. What does the Book of Enoch change for you? Does knowing that the New Testament writers read and quoted this text change how you view the Bible? Let's get a discussion going in the comments below. If this deep dive opened your eyes to the hidden history of our faith, hit that like button right now. It helps us get this truth out to more people. Make sure you are subscribed and have those notifications turned on, because we are only scratching the surface of these ancient mysteries. Share this video with someone who needs to wake up. Thanks for watching.